You don't have it?
Okay, good evening.
I'm gonna grab it.
It is the most wonderful time of the year. Welcome to our first listening session, and I stress that this is a listening session. These first three presentation sessions are for us to listen, ask questions, get answers, and learn from our staff and our supported agencies, and we will save our debate for later. The one thing I do want to remind you of, something that came up in the course of our familiarization with the new budget software, we had a meeting last Friday to educate us, and we were advised that we have been using the wrong terminology for legislature ideas for adding to the budget. They are not OTRs. Technically, OTRs can only be submitted by departments and supported agencies. Anything that we legislators submit are properly termed amendments. Amendments to the county administrator's budget. So we're going to try to get on track this year and call things what they should be called. And I still don't know exactly, are we using the same process, Norma, to submit our amendments that we used to submit our OTRs?
Yes, you'll submit them via email and yeah.
Okay, yeah, send them to Norma and Lisa. Just be sure you call them amendments and not OTRs.
I'm going to file a formal complaint. I want to use OTR.
Well, bring it on, Rich.
Take it.
Okay, so tonight, first up, we have our Director of Veteran Services, Amanda.
I was just gonna ask about the email that Norma sent about the technical difficulty. Has that been fixed or?
It is being fixed as we speak. Okay. So some of them are, the ones for tonight have been fixed. Okay. Because I did those before I came over. And then they're being fixed as the evening goes on. They should be done by tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay,
That was fun.
And for those of you who are old school like me, I have the page numbers in your book for the departments that we are going to be hearing from tonight. First of which is Veteran Services. So J.R. Claiborne, come on down. And that will be on page 4-172 of your book.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Oh, wow.
Welcome,
Midday
JR.
lunchtime. Thank you. I get the echoes there. All right. Thank you, and appreciate your time for entertaining my request here, my OTR. And this is the two things that I have for you. Is the first is my request under memorial items. This is an item that I requested additional $2,000 for that fund. The memorial items. What this primarily does is provide flags for the veterans' graves throughout the county. This is an event, well, it's turned into an event that our veteran service organizations, our veterans organizations all come together the weekend of Memorial Day, and they basically get together, they get the flags, and they disperse throughout the county to make sure that each veteran's grave throughout the county is marked with a flag. The price increase has jumped over the last few years. Last year was I believe it was 8%, and it's anticipated to be similar, if not worse, in the next year. So this $2,000 is my modest and most conservative estimate of what that will cover that increase. Okay. The second item is the Veteran Service Officer. This is a position, as you see there, for almost 70,100 or 300. Excuse me. This is a position that is being would be covered by the Joseph P. Dwyer Fund, which is a $100,000 grant that's given by the state. This is an item that, as I said, is funded through the state. It's also, like most grants, are use it or lose it. So if I don't use it, it will be lost. The position, and in case you may ask this, it is something that you did grant me last year, and I was unable to fill it. I tried to run 2 searches at once as a one-person department. As I say, I've tried to be in two places at once. I've learned my limitation is 3. But when you come to other people and things, that's a little more difficult. So this coming year, my focus was going to be on filling this this veteran service officer position. This is a position that would definitely extend the capabilities of my office. Prime example just happened today. We had a veteran come in this morning. My new information aide, Michelle Baker, who I think some of you have met, she basically spent a lot of time with that veteran trying to help him, because this is someone who was homeless and came seeking service through my office as well as DSS. And I ended up getting involved, and in the time that we were trying to work with him, 2 other vets came in. One vet I could help, the other vet I could not. He has to come back. So just noticing that is a rarity, but it's starting to become more frequent that we have 2 or 3 people come in at once. So it does really show the limitation of even having 2 people in the office. So again, this is something that is wholly contained within the grant money that we've received, and I would like to be able to move forward with this position in the coming year.
Okay, questions for JR? Dan?
So I'm a little confused. If it's grant funded, why is it listed as target? Why is it an OTR?
As the reason put on there that this was one of the positions that wasn't hired, so it was under the soft freeze.
But the fund? Okay.
I would say the grant funds can be used to support the other positions in the office that are funded under target funds. That was the conversation that we had had, or the logic or the reasoning behind this, so that funding, that amount of county funding could be recouped.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Mike, Rich, Annie, did I miss anybody? Amanda and Randy. So Mike? Travis, okay.
You're getting grilled. JR, the flag request, is that for more flags, or is it just for the increased price?
Just for the increased price.
Thank you.
Rich?
I'm good.
Annie?
Just to be clear, this would be a $70,000 budget impact for this position.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Amanda?
Okay, I have a technical question and then a content question. So this page that you're showing, I'm on the digital budget book, and I don't know where that is. And on the OTR page for veteran services, it only lists the one about the flags.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, those positions were removed by the county administrator, and there's a position reductions page.
Okay.
So, but that's duly noted. I will make sure that the rest of them are on both pages.
Okay, so this is okay.
This was not at the recommendation of the department. This was a county administrator reduction.
Okay,
Yep.
So that's why it's a different
That's why it's
category.
different, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, am I allowed to ask questions just about the regular budget in this department?
You may ask anything about this department that you'd like.
Okay. I was going to ask, just looking at the travel training line, the modified budget for this year was about 3,000, and next year you're asking for 10. And I was just wondering, is there like a specific thing you're planning for people to go to, or why the jump?
Yes, actually, there's a national accredit. I'm gonna say this right. The National Association of County Veteran Service Officers, big long acronym. They have a national training each year. I'm actually going to be in it next month. It's a week-long intensive training. That by itself is $350. Okay. And then they have a in-person, they've gone back to in-person, National Summer Convention. And so that's trying to include covering 3 people I'm assuming this is still in my budget, covering 3 people and being able to take advantage of opportunities like that as well as other training opportunities that are coming up.
It would be for all of the people in your department to do
Yes,
that?
that's the intention.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Andy?
Yes, since this is the first one, I'd like to understand just the format here. So the modified budget for, it says for 2023, that's this year's budget. This is what's been approved for 2023.
Correct.
And so the actuals for 2023, this is your estimate for the year, or is this so far?
This is pulling from the financial information, from the financial data, so
Okay.
it's what's been spent so far.
Okay. And, okay. And that's all I had. So
Okay.
Okay, Travis?
I just wanted to be clear, Lisa. What I hear you saying is that even though that 70,000 comes from the state, instead of using on a position to be filled, you can use it on current positions that are filled, and you can reduce what the county's expenditure is. So it's not that we would give the money back to the state; we would shift it to cover something else. Is
That's
that correct? Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything for JR? It looks like you're off the hook now. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sure we're going to have tons of fun. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have our Department of Assessment, which you can find on page 4-7 of your book. And Jay is here.
We,
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm dealing with a ringing in my ear, so if I turn this way, you'll hear that. But thanks for having me and Irene here tonight. Unfortunately, I don't think our link is working to our budget online. I couldn't get to that, so, oh, okay. I couldn't get to it. Anyone know where this is?
Mm-mm.
Do-do-do-do-do. Cornell's Turf Grass Research Facility, next to my favorite place here, which is the Robert Trent Jones Golf Course. So,
Oh, no.
I always love putting aerials on here, and I even test my staff just to say, hey, do you know where this is? So, we have one over target request. I'm asking for another assistant real property appraiser position. And I've also put our kind of history of where our parcel counts fall and where our parcels per FTE fall. So back in 1970, when we were founded with 15 full-time equivalents and only about 1168 parcels per person. We hit our high in 2000 of 19 people, or about 1,700 people per parcel, and then we dropped. I've been doing this budget for 23 years now, and I think every year we've had a tight budget year where we were only supposed to ask for exactly what we needed and nothing more. So in 2010, we dropped to our lowest level at 10 full-time equivalents, or around 3,500 FTEs, and right now we're trending there at that 12.3 FTEs. And where that's important is the IAAO, the International Association of Assessing Officers, has different standards for the assessment function. And they really range anywhere from 1,200 parcels on the West Coast to 2,500 parcels here in the Northeast. And I think that's just a reflection of how active markets are. I think on the West Coast, you're seeing a little more booming, a little more building activity going on. And selfishly, I also say as you move west, they put a little more importance on my position as opposed to what they do here in the Northeast. So we're trying to get to a level that we can actually be sustainable. All throughout my 23 years, when I've left, I've had a lot of you all or people who sat in your seats that said, hey, do you need another position? And I said, no, we're good because of the people that I have within the positions that I have. We've always had a very experienced staff who had a wealth of knowledge. In real property appraisal, experience is something that cannot be substituted. You can learn the books, but you can't apply that without the experience that you have. So that's really where we've been these last couple years. You know, during COVID, I was removed and was sent to the EOC. Irene did an amazing job keeping our office together and trying to get us through COVID without any form of compensation taking on those extra duties. Remote work for us really isn't there. When you're serving the public, it's hard to be away from your office. When someone comes in and wants to see you, you need to be there. Other things, you know, during COVID and the county offered the early retirement incentive, I lost 3 very experienced staff to that. So in a blink of an eye, I probably lost 80 years of appraisal experience. And one who's done every single job, assessor, tax map, county director, commercial appraiser, his experience went out the door without being able to train someone to bring in after that. You know, and the big reason why I'm here is the real estate market. You all know what's going on. That's the biggest topic that you have when you meet with somebody, besides taxes. You know, our office just isn't structured at 12.3 FTEs to do a reappraisal every single year of the county. We did it for 2022, we did it for 2023, and we are out there doing it again for our 2024 assessment roll. You know, I have 3 teams of appraisers out in the office, including Irene, who's out every day in the field revaluing properties, just because that's the only way that we can do it for 2024. Now, will one person solve my woes? No, it's not going to come close. But it's at least a step forward. And quite frankly, I can't ask for more than what I need. You know, if I had to, I'd say I'd be at 15 people. But we're not going to get there. You know, because of this, we've had to not do some of our work. We've had to stop providing the assessment function for the town of Covert. We've had to stop doing the 520 charges. I started doing a special district boundary review, which is really fun to try to find where lighting districts are and to make sure all the parcels are being charged correctly by the towns. I've had to put that on hold. Luckily, the town of Ithaca did pick up some of that work for me, so I appreciate that. I've had to stop revaluing roll section 8, except for Cornell, since that's always in the news. We've had to stop redoing our ag soil worksheets. We did a digital sketch conversion back in 18 or so in anticipation of getting new state software. Those sketches are still sitting there, and I don't have a digital sketch program to maintain it yet. We've pulled back from some of the interdepartmental teams. Irene's been on that onboarding team for 13 years, it seemed like, so we have to kind of pull back from there. We've delayed a review for a new tax bill printing program. We delayed putting GIS into our valuation process. So we've really done a lot. But one other thing that we didn't do is we haven't been able to train our new staff. You know, I have 6 relatively new appraisers, and due to what they're able to do, we're only able to train them on valuation. But valuation is only 49% of what an assessor does. They're still missing that other 51%. But I got to get that done in only a short period of time. With what this one will do, will allow us to have a dedicated appraiser for each town. Due to the amount of work that my appraisers are doing in the field, I had to shift one appraiser to verify sales and then do the arduous task of trying to get building permits from our towns. and trying to work with them in order to get us the data that we need to do their jobs. So we've had to kind of shift that, and we're down one because of that. Yeah, and then also, you know, with the GIS consolidation, we have a plan moving forward to undo that. But when we consolidated the GIS function at the county GIS level, they took 40 hours of work, or 40 hours of person, but only took 4 hours worth of work per week. So that other 36 hours of work falls on myself, Irene, Tammy, and Vang. So we're the ones reading the deeds each week. We're the ones answering people's questions when they come into the office. So this will at least stop us from sinking, but there's still water coming in. So hopefully, I mean, if the real estate market were to stop increasing and kind of level off, we can kind of get back on our feet. But until that point is, we're just treading water and trying to survive.
Okay, that's cheery. Greg, you had a question.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. If you weren't doing a full reevaluation of the county every year, would you be able to pick up some of the things that have dropped off your list?
Yes.
Great.
Yep, and you know, back in 2005, we used to get $150,000 of state aid from New York State. That's 2 positions. So add 2 positions to mine, and that's, and one thing I should say is the IAAO standards that I mentioned were for the assessment office. I also do the real property tax office. Let's not forget that. Typically, you know, at the bare minimum I've seen is at least 3 people in that real property office. Other counties do a lot more and may get 10 to 12 people up, but you know, at bare minimum, if you take away 3 from us, that's really what we're doing at the assessment function.
Is there, I guess a follow-up to that would be, is there a piece of technology or software or some sort of upgrade that would alleviate some of the you know, individual responsibility or individual work, you know, something that could be automated? Obviously, it takes time to implement those things, but is there something that could be an investment over an FTE?
There is, but honestly, I can't come to you with it. There is a new the state was providing us with a new software. They stopped that about 1.5 years ago, didn't give us a reason. For us to convert to it would be $750,000 to convert and $250,000 a year in licensing fees. It's not better, you know, but we could be doing work differently if our staff was trained differently. And, you know, I really appreciated Joe Mariana, but one decision he made was probably the worst decision he made, and that was promoting me to department head. When I came to be department head, you lose the ability to do a lot of the actual work that you're able to do. And I have a skill set that is kind of unique, and we're missing out on my ability to do things because of my responsibilities as a department head.
Mike?
Lonely at the top.
I have Irene. I'm in good company.
The administrator did not recommend this over target. So what would you go ahead and what would you be doing next year if you don't get it?
We'll continue with our 2024 assessment. You know, we have a plan in place. We're able to get that at 100%. It's going to be fun with the amount of changes and the value changes that we have, but we'll get it done and we'll have an equitable assessment role. But after that, I don't believe that we'll be able to continue with an annual reassessment program, but I don't know where the market's going to go. If the market lays flat, we can continue with an annual assessment because we don't have to change any values. But if we see 10% appreciation again, I'll be coming to you in April or May saying, here's where the market is, and unfortunately, we're going to have to go to a fractional value. And even if you fund this, I'm probably going to have to come to you again with that same thing if the market keeps increasing.
Go ahead, Mike, if you have another question.
Yeah, one other thing. Are you able to obtain any contract help?
I'd rather pay my people.
Well, I understand that, but Are there people out there you could hire to fill in some of the holes for a while?
Maybe some past employees. Unfortunately, the job of the assessor isn't one where they're making more of these, and the relative age and demand of assessors. You know, I get calls pretty frequently saying, hey, can you take over this town? And unfortunately, either through Tompkins or through my private life, I just can't take on any more work here, even with that compensation.
Thank you.
Randy.
Yeah, assessors are always loved, right? And I know from just what I'm hearing from people, some assessments have gone up quite a bit, and you're less loved. And I realize it's nothing you can do about that. So the requirement that you have now to be fully assessed, I think that's the term you used, each year. What is the minimum standard for that? Do you have to do every property every 3 years, or is it not set that way?
Well, we live in New York State, so you don't really have to do anything.
Right.
So what the law says is that you have to assess at a uniform percentage of value every year. So typically what that means is as the market moves, your level of assessment changes, but you don't adjust those values. What you should be doing is, you know, we have a pretty big county and not every property moves that same percentage. So in generality, our movers really, you know, Southern Lansing, the city, and the town of Ithaca. So as those properties appreciate, if we don't adjust the other assessments and change our level of assessment to 90%, let's say, you know, we see a 10% increase in those markets. We change our level of assessment to 90%. Your $200,000 assessment now means you're worth $222,222. But you don't tell the property owner that you changed their value. And really what we should be doing is if we say, hey, the town of Newfield didn't increase in value at all, we should go in there and reduce their assessments by 10% in order. So the law mandates that you do an annual reassessment, but there is no penalty if you don't do it. It's just an inequitable distribution of the tax burden.
Okay.
You know, there's towns that haven't done a revaluation since the Civil War in New York State. There is no way those towns have any sort of equitable tax distribution to them.
Okay, the other question I have, there seems to be a lot more commercial or large apartment complexes. Do you have people in your department specifically focused on those, and how is that staffed?
Yep, I do have one appraiser who's specifically doing commercial properties. I also did bring back one of our old commercial appraiser in a training capacity. He was one of those people who left for his second early retirement in COVID. And so now we have him back in a contract training those. So we are revaluing all of the apartments as we move forward into 2024 for that role.
Thank you.
Jay, you mentioned that you were unable to continue the assessment services for COVID. We were getting paid for that?
Correct.
How much were we?
We were, I want to say around 30,000, which was actually paying for the part-time position of my commercial appraiser.
And then you mentioned that other towns outside the county had asked you and you were unable to accommodate them?
Correct.
All right, so we're foregoing revenue.
I wouldn't say revenue, but we're foregoing money in order to hire somebody to be able to account for that work. So it is some revenue, but it's not like we'd be making a lot of money on it.
No, but I think that one thing that we might want to take into account is if we added this additional person and you could accommodate covert again, for example, that the income that you would get from covert would be somewhat of an offset to the county's cost for that new staff position.
It would. I think we'd have to really discuss with the staff that I have, is it worthwhile for us to take on more work when the work that we're trying to do for our residents here in Tompkins County isn't really up to my standards.
Okay.
And I have much higher standards than what New York State does.
That's why we love you.
But
And then the other thing you referred to at one point, you mentioned that there was a state grant that gave you $150,000. Has that been eliminated?
yes, the state used to give up to $5 per parcel for municipalities that did an annual reassessment program. So with our 35,000 parcels, it's somewhere in that $150,000, $160,000 range. New York State didn't like doing that, so now they allow you to do it if you do it every 3 years. But along with that is a requirement that you have to measure 2 sides of every building. Well, if I hire 3 data collectors and have them go out and measure every 2 sides of every building, or if we do a Eagle View pictometry flyover, that's going to take all of that $150,000. But the other problem with that is I said up to $5 per parcel. So I think there's only $750,000 of state aid in that bucket. And if you have New York City or another large municipality that does a revaluation, I think one year that state aid was $2.10. So if you try to bank on $150,000 of state aid in year 1, but it's payable in year 3, and you may only get $60,000 of aid,
I can see the problem, yes.
it's just, and the amount of work that abandoning that program caused New York State, it's really just sickening that they can't make that connection. If you spend a little money, you're going to save a significant amount on staff time.
Thank you. Shauna?
Do you think that if we ended up hiring this additional person, you would see an increase in assessment revenues that would possibly offset some of the salary for this?
No, I mean, the only money we really make is off of subdivision maps filing, certificates of apportionment, memorandums of apportionment when a property is going to split. Okay. You know, unfortunately, everything's online, so we don't get all of those quarters we used to get from people making copies.
Okay.
Randy?
You mentioned that some towns or municipalities don't provide good billing permit data. Is that a big problem, or how can that be improved by communication?
Well, we're hoping the study that's currently being done to look at code enforcement or centralize some sort of mechanism in order to be able to get us the data we need. There's some towns that even when the code officer isn't there, we're allowed to go in and look at all of those records. Other ones, in the past, you had to file a FOIL request for their data. So we're still working. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of turnover for some of the code officers, and you know, that's sometimes bad, but sometimes it's an opportunity to be able to introduce ourselves, and you know, we're really looking forward to work with the new code officer in Newfield.
Yep, he'll do well.
Okay, if there's, Veronica?
Thank you. Thanks, Jay. My question is maybe more about the budget book and not your request. I'm looking at the OTR page for assessment, and down at the bottom, there's a little table with 2 lines giving 2 different account codes and amounts that don't seem to match. It's something that totals $84,564, which doesn't seem to match any of the other amounts like related to this. Is that anything, or should I ignore it? Is that anything meaningful?
We could just ignore it, though.
All in favor of ignoring?
Yeah.
Out of order, Mr. Klein. I assumed that was salary and fringe for this.
564? I'm not.
One, even though it says regular pay, I think one is fringe,
Fringe.
benefits,
Yeah,
and the other one
salary and
is
fringe.
salary.
Okay, that makes sense. But then what's this 178,215 number I'm seeing up higher for the what I'm assuming is requested increase to target, if I'm interpreting that column right?
Well, initially, there were 2 positions, and we've actually dropped, Jay dropped one of those positions off. So, in the original request, there were 2 positions, and being the frugal person he is, he dropped one.
Well, that's just because we have a plan moving forward for that. We're not going to tell you what it is, though.
All right, well, thank you.
Amanda?
Just to clarify, then, that chart isn't correct at sorry, maybe I missed something.
No, so the requested target included 2 positions.
Right, but it doesn't.
But it does not anymore. It only includes the one that you see now on the over-target request.
So the 178,215 would have been 2 additions of 84,564.
Correct.
Well, one was for a different position, but in talking with county admin and other county departments, I think we have a plan moving forward, and we can delay that hiring until the plan comes to
fruition.
Yeah, I couldn't say that word, so that's why I stopped there.
Fruition, yes.
English, bad.
You're either numbers or you're letters.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I was a math major.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you, Jay. Now, I see that our Board of Elections people are here. I also see that I missed on the first line of the schedule of presentations, our admin department. So if it would be okay with Norma and Lisa, I would like to hear from BOE, and then we'll hear from admin.
We have workforce and ITS here for just that one portion of our OTR information. I don't know whether we were going to split this up, and we have 2 positions that have been eliminated by the county administrator, and these folks are here just to speak to those 2 positions.
Okay. Is it okay if we do Board of Elections first? Okay, let's do that, and then we'll do workforce development, and what was the other one? ITS?
Yes.
Okay.
Are those our empty spots?
Okay. I don't know how exactly we're going to do this. Maybe we could just wheel another chair over. And you will find Board of Elections on page 4-14 of your budget books.
Yeah. Oh.
Get into it, and now you can't. But we're getting into, yeah. Online, but then we just checked again, and it was blocked. Refresh.
I can get into it if you go to, is this an out loud type of thing to say?
Go for it.
If you go to operating budgets in the taskbar and then click on OBB departments and budget, and then the assessment link there worked. From the home page, the assessment link didn't work for me.
That's where I was trying to access it.
Right.
I'm not on this page. This is.
I'm being so serious.
Okay. Are we all on the same page, so to speak?
Board of Elections.
We ready to go forward with Board of Elections? For the benefit of anybody who happens to be watching, we are test driving a brand-new approach to presenting our budget with an online budget book which has a few glitches that we're working on, so bear with us and be patient. We have liftoff? If you've got your pages, go for it.
So we are requesting 3 OTRs this year.
Can you get close to the,
One is closer? Oh, sorry.
about 4 inches?
Okay. One is for the election worker, one is for the clerk, and one is for the voting machine tech. Our election worker, just some stats on them. We have 200 bipartisan poll workers for each election day. The pay rate is tied to the living wage. In 2023, we added 75 to 100 new poll workers as new Tompkins County employees. We still struggle to find enough for each election. We recently purchased 8 additional print-on-demand towers. This will reduce our number of needed poll workers by 16 per election. This will be covered by the tier grant.
Can everyone hear? If you could move just a wee trifle closer.
Okay. All of the poll workers will now be paid from the salary line, not program expense like it has been in years past. Last year it was like a hybrid between the two. The poll workers have an average of a fringe rate of 11%, not the 0% fringe rate that they were paid out of when they were paid out of the election or the program expense. Our clerks, the election clerks assist with our rolling canvases of the absentee ballots, early voting staffing, auditing voting machines post-election, manual recounts, offers coverage when we have to be out of the office or need additional coverage, assist office staff during busy election periods with like incoming ballots and registrations, and onboarding our new election workers. The voting machine techs. In 2024, we'll have new voting machines. The voting machine technicians will assist in the creation of our new training program, all the new training materials, and provide training to the poll workers. They themselves will also have to learn how to use, maintain, and fix the new machines. The voting machine technicians will have a larger role supporting our poll workers on the new machines on election days. And the technicians will also help us in educating the public on the new machines. So let's go back to this one. They're both one-time OTRs. One of them is to, the voting machine technician is to make one full-time position next year to be split between 2 employees.
Okay, is that everything? And so as I'm reading it in the book, and correct me if I'm wrong, the county administrator has recommended clerks, but not the techs and not the poll worker increase. Is that correct?
I recommended the number 1, the one-time funding for election workers. Sorry, there was a version control here.
Oh, okay.
It was a recent change.
It was
Yeah.
since last Friday, okay.
Yes.
So the only one that's not recommended that would require a legislator amendment is the voting machine technician. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I see Mike and I see Rich. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could get clarification, what happened with the poll worker?
There was some clarification, if you don't mind, there was some clarification in language that was requested from the department. We received that, and we, after that, the county administrator was able to approve that OTR.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mike?
The machine technicians, how many do we have? Is this an extra one, or is it replacing, we used to have 2, I think.
We have We have a presidential election year coming up with three full, what we anticipate to be three, certainly two.
Yeah, Steve, can you?
With two countywide elections, minimum, probably three. And in presidential years, there's obviously more work for everybody. But we did, right now, we currently have two full-time equivalent senior voting machine technicians. And we have two persons filling the one full-time equivalent on the Democratic side and two persons filling the full-time equivalent on the Republican side, and we are asking to increase essentially a half of a full-time equivalent for voting machine technician. All of the new equipment, technology that's come into elections in the last several years has created a lot more work, a lot more equipment to maintain. They are also taking on a lot more of the training, and next year we'll have, we anticipate we'll have new machines next year. So this would make a total of three full-time equivalents in the technician area, two senior, and this would be the essentially a regular voting machine technician.
So there would be six?
There will be four senior voting machine technicians filling two full-time equivalents, and if we get this OTR, it would be two voting machine technicians filling one full-time equivalent.
But we're talking about six bodies.
6 bodies, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the idea is to have 3 Republican ones and 3 Democratic ones. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I have Annie, Randy, and Veronica.
Thank you. I know we had talked about, trying to think how long ago it was, about when we raised the election workers' salary up to a living wage. I believe we talked about looking at that, and I don't know if that goes through government operations, but about doing something, a resolution later to tie it to the yearly living wage, some index. Otherwise, it was just the living wage for when we raised it. So does anybody remember that? Yeah, you do? Yeah, so there was, just so that maybe needs to be followed up in the next couple of months if we want to do that. Otherwise, was the living wage for that year that we raised it.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It was increased this year to $16.61, which I believe is the living wage. So it was increased from $15.32 2 years ago to $16.61 this year.
So we are following the index, basically.
Well, that might have been the one bump. So I don't know if is it.
Well, what she's saying is that the money they're asking for is the living wage currently.
The previous bump was from 12 to like 15 and change was the first one when we took it from below the living wage to the new living wage. So if you're saying it's 16 in this 2024 budget, it sounds like it's in line with the current living wage.
What she said.
Yeah, it just didn't seem to resonate with everybody.
Okay. Are we all good with that?
So we don't need to do anything?
No, I don't think so.
They're taking care of it in your department to keep it at a living wage, you're saying?
Yeah, the payroll raised that in January, so I assume they'll raise it again next year if the living wage goes up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Randy?
Yes, I think it was mentioned yesterday that we're looking at buying new machines. Is that in the capital program? Okay, so would that replace all machines?
Yes, it would, with the vendor that I think we're going to go with, we haven't made a final decision, it would replace all the machines. If we went with the other vendor that we're considering, we could probably bring 6 machines that we currently have into the new fleet, but all the rest, they're not supported by firmware after this year.
And so do they provide training on those machines? Or?
Well, not really, but I think they certainly, I mean, they do come by and when you take delivery and work with you on doing the acceptance testing and that kind of thing.
I would think we might want to make that a part of the agreement. If we're going to sell them, you got to provide us so many hours of training. I would think that would be a logical thing. That's what happens with.
Yeah, I don't think they build that into the state contract, the OGS. They don't have that for any of the machines that I'm aware of.
You have a limited number of people you can buy from then.
Yeah, we're limited to who we can buy from too, yes.
2 companies, is that what it is? Or
what's that?
how many companies provide these machines?
Right now in New York State, 4 companies are certified to provide.
Okay, thank you.
Veronica?
I remember my question. This is also really a budget book question again. In your department's budget page, down at the bottom where it lists the full-time equivalents, or no, not at the bottom, sorry, I lost track of it. In the middle, it has listed as, for 2024, senior voting machine technician 2 FTEs, which is what you said, and then voting machine technician 0.5 FTEs, which is not what I thought you said. Can you just clarify? Or also, I guess my question is that going to be the number that's been recommended in the budget, or recommended in the administrator's budget, as opposed to the OTR you're asking for?
This was requested. That was the FTE that was requested.
Sorry, let me ask maybe a simpler question. Where does that 0.5 number come from for voting machine technicians in 2024?
The amount of money there was the amount of money that was in our target model. And then we are asking for additional in the OTR to raise it from a half of a full-time equivalent to a 1 full-time equivalent.
Okay.
That would be a 0.5 increase.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Mike?
One more time on the technician OTR. And as you say, we normally have had to hire more people during the presidential years because you have more work to do. Could this be a one-time and rather than an over target, or rather than a
Target increase?
Target increase, excuse me. Thank you.
Is it over? Oh, this is, yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I suppose it could be a one-time. I think we feel that the amount of work that to be done in the technical, the voting machine maintenance and all the equipment, the electronic poll books, and we're getting in, printing ballots on demand. That will actually save a substantial amount of money on purchasing ballots. But there's a lot more work there to be done, and I think in the long run, I think, we would probably be looking at this to be ongoing.
Thank you.
Randy?
When I was running for election, I got copies of all the voter rolls, and you guys were very helpful with that. And when I went through them with somebody, and they asked for copies, so I gave them copies, they mentioned that, well, that person hasn't lived there for 10 years. That guy moved to here, that guy. Do you guys have enough staff to manage your voter rolls?
Yes, and Rich John is very familiar with that whole scenario. We cannot put a voter into inactive status, which is the first step down the road to getting them off the voter rolls. We cannot put them into inactive status unless we get documentation back from the mail, from the post office when we do our annual mail check, we get a card back and they say they've moved, if they say no forwarding address, then we can put them in inactive status. And then if they go 2 federal elections without voting, then we can take them off the voter rolls. Problem is we do not get the cards back from a lot of people. And you just, mentioned there's people on there we know, but we can't just arbitrarily knock people off because we say, yeah, they don't live there.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Have a pleasant rest of your evening. Okay, now we are going to get back to those admin people that I skipped over. And I'm going to leave it to Norma or Lisa or someone else to tell me which pages of the book we should be going to, because this seems like a very limited piece of.
Yeah, so the positions, the position in the book is right behind Lisa's message to the county legislature. So it has its own little section. I'm trying to share my screen. On the in the online book,
So this is the position reductions due to soft hiring
Yes.
freeze, and it's just before section 1 tab.
And for the folks that are using the online book, it's in the OTRs under the fiscal summary on the homepage, and it's titled County Administrator Position Reductions Due to Hiring Freeze.
And which one are we hearing about?
We have, I know Lauren was here, I'm not sure, I think. And we have workforce here as well. I'm trying to get my screen to show. There we go. So the position reductions these position reductions were not made due to anything other than having to meet a 2% tax levy. This is not the fact that these were cut is not a determination that they are not needed for the departments. And so we just want to make sure that was not the reason for Lisa's recommendation to remove these. It was simply they were positions that were unfilled, so they would not affect current staffing, and they were necessary to help get to the 2% tax levy goal. The positions that, just to go over the folks that have been waiting here, Workforce Development Communications Specialist. Chris, did you want to come up and speak to that position?
Everyone hear me pretty well?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, first off, thank you for having me and speaking about the position. I look forward to working with everybody once our department's restructured on October 3rd. I know that we can't control mandates and increase in taxes and different things like that, but I feel like this is a position that we can control, and it's very important to the county and our department. It's not a nice to have job. Like, this is like vital to the success of our department and what we're trying to do. Our responsibility is to serve business and then also to serve participants in our county who need help finding a job. They may need other supportive services. We connect them with different resources. That's really like our two main duties that we try to do at the Workforce Board and now the Workforce Development Department. Some of the duties of the communication specialist included increasing public knowledge and awareness of workforce programs and resources, designing materials, and doing social media posts and print, providing outreach and education to job-seeking customers and businesses, and being the face of the department at sponsored events throughout Tompkins County. Really, this person is going out in the community, going out in the city of Ithaca, going all throughout our rural community. They're really the ones, the glue that's holding everything together. They're bringing in participants to the Career Center, making people aware of the programs that are out there. Along with that, they're focusing on digital outreach too. As an aside, the OET email newsletters were opened by over 5,600 recipients in 2022, which was the second most interacted with all Thompson County email blasts, only second to the Health Department COVID updates. We did recently have Nick Bennett, who was the communications specialist, and he left, so we definitely thank him for all the work that he's done. I'm going to talk about some of the positives of having that person in that position. I'm going to talk about the negatives of if that position's gone. And a lot of this was what Nick was able to do at the Career Center, also known as the Office of Employment Training. So for our Summer Youth Employment Program, he did a lot of the rural outreach, going to libraries, making people aware of what's going on. I have a list of the communities that we serve with the Summer Youth Employment Program. I didn't want to miss anybody, so we went out to Trumansburg, Ulysses, Enfield, Newfield, Lansing, Groton, Dryden, Freeville, Caroline, Brooktondale. So that's just really enhancing the work that we're doing because there's a lot of focus on the city of Ithaca, and we definitely serve a lot of youth there, but a priority recently has been at the Career Center was to do a better job at going out there in those different communities. And really, it's a hard ask to have Melissa Catchy, who's the OET director, it's hard ask to have her to go out in the community when really her responsibility is participants and frontline workers, and so is her collective staff under there. Like their expertise is in frontline work, social services, working with customers face-to-face, not trying to develop brochures, not trying to go out all across the county. That's not really in their job description, and even if they had the time, it's not their expertise. So we're stuck, in some cases, if we do have to come up with something, we're stuck spending hours upon hours of extra time that we have to work. And certain employees, they can only work for so long. Like you hit a certain amount of hours in the week and everything, and that's kind of it with it. And frontline work is it's some of the most hardest work in any job market anywhere, and it's some of the most rewarding, but that's just really the situation we're in right now. Second, we have the Disability Resource Coordinator Program, and that's a pilot program with the New York State Department of Labor, and it puts a Disability Resource Coordinator in each of the workforce board areas throughout the state. And this person is increasing awareness of serving those with disabilities, giving them an opportunity to work, giving them a chance to be exposed to different career pathways. It's an untapped job market that a lot of areas need to focus on, and this program has helped us serve a lot of different people who would have not gotten those services. These numbers are from the New York State Department of Labor. So since last year, 87 people have been served through that program, and then 26 have retained employment, and that retention of employment means still having a job after 90 days. So there was a brochure that was designed for this program, and then Nick was also at all the different outreach events, and really none of that, these numbers would not exist if we didn't have that communications person. Because like I said, the DRC is responsible for the frontline work, working with our partners, Access VR, Flick, doing a lot of those responsibilities. There's that whole other aspect of bringing more people into the area, the Career Center. Because that's a frustrating part of something that we want to collectively correct, is that a lot of times people know about our service because they knew somebody or they accidentally heard about it, but we need to do a better job at going all over the place and making sure our word is getting out. People know what we're doing. Along with this, the tourism budget for the SCVP, Nick also is playing a big role in that of raising career awareness, making people aware of career pathways in hospitality and tourism. And that was part of our discussion when we presented on our budget, that Nick would be a vital role to this. So this is going into another part of our budget of that with another committee, is that we told them that we were going to follow through on these programs to help career awareness, explore different tourism programs out there, and that's just going to hurt us. We just don't have the person or time to do that if that position is gone. And on top of that, just daily operations of the Career Center, making people aware of events. We have events weekly. We have something always going on. So that's making sure you're doing the outreach, bringing people in, email blasts, like I said. And on top of that, there's other workforce initiatives such as Direct to Work, Pathways and Manufacturing Program with IAED that we're a strategic partner with them. And that is also another thing where we can help support their program is through our Career Center and doing outreach into rural areas. We can connect them of this program, like, hey, have you heard of Direct to Work? It's a great program to do, and that's just another program that the county is invested in. And I see that if we don't have that communication specialist, we won't be able to support that other program indirectly through the communication specialist. So really the challenges that are going to happen if this person is gone, like what I just said is not going to happen. Like I listed that whole list of towns that we were doing outreach in. It's not going to be possible to go out there and promote the summer youth employment program to youth. It's not going to happen. The DRC, like we won't be able to bring in more people, come up with new brochures, come up with new ideas. Originally the communication specialist was going to work on a rural outreach plan. So a lot of that involved more like not like every single door, but door-to-door knocking, going to public libraries, community centers, doing a lot of those things, exploring radio advertisements and things like that. And that was something Nick was exploring. And at this point, we can't really even explore that right now because we don't have a specialist. The staff time, like we just don't have the staff time to do it. Like the Career Center is already overworked right now, serving participants and making sure they're being connected to the right resources. They're receiving 110% from the Career Center staff. And like I said, if they did have the time, it's going to take forever to try to figure it out, to make some sort of communications plan. And it's just not going to be at the level of what an expert would create. And yeah, again, it hurts. It will absolutely kill our rural outreach. I can only go out for so many times throughout the county representing the Tompkins Workforce Development Department. I'm doing a lot of interaction with businesses, our main partners that we have also, and like I've been trying to go out, but I can only do so much. But with the communication specialist, they can go out there and really cover all areas, and I can pick up the pieces in other parts. There's no expectation of the Career Center staff having them to go out and try to do promotion in our rural areas. Like I said, like we need to start doing more of that in person. And ultimately, it hurts our participants. Like we won't be able to connect with as many people. And one last point also, it's like our department is restructured. October 3rd, we're gonna be new. We're gonna be new to the community. And there's still been confusion right now to this day of what does the Workforce Development Board Department do and what does the Office of Employment and Training do? A lot of confusion. Like looking back, people thought I worked for that department, and then other people at that department thought I worked with them. There's a lot of confusion with that. So it's just gonna really hurt us, like with the public, of just going out there and trying to explain this message. Because again, Career Center staff, they're working with participants. They are doing events out in the community, holding job fairs and different events, but their priority is not to increase outreach and bring in more people. Finally, the long-term costs, like if we remove this position, is like nothing compared to like all the other costs that will come about. It will affect like other budget lines through increased needs in social services. Studies show if you have the appropriate services, it improves health and education of participants and their families, you earn more income, you pay taxes, and you need less government assistance. If we eliminate this position, it's just gonna make it so hard for us to create these opportunities for people. People are gonna be stuck in generational poverty. They will not be aware of different programs and careers that are out there. It's just gonna put a burden on everything else. So really, I think this is a good move to keep this position both short-term and long-term because of what I just said, and fiscally, I think it would be a great move. And then just humanely, I think it's a great move just for the staff who's already overworked, and then just for the participants that will be served through this program. The differences that it makes in their lives and their families, and ultimately, like big picture, our community. So I just really thank you for your time, and if you have any questions or if anything's confusing, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to share more information about what we're working on, what the communication specialist has done. Just feel free to shoot me an email and everything. You can come to our office, anything. We can go to the Career Center. We'd be more than happy to welcome anybody.
Thank you, Chris. Does anybody have questions for Chris now? Randy?
Yes, how many people in their Career Center now?
So I think it's around 8-ish right now. So we have a youth team, which has 3, and we have an adult team, we're at 1, and then Melissa is the director right now, and then Cassie is actually our disability resource coordinator, and then we have an Office of Employment Training clerk, and then a project assistant. So I don't know if anyone was counting, but yeah, it's around there.
It wasn't, but I'll take your word for it.
And then on the board side right now, it would be the communications person, and then the deputy director of the board side, and then our fiscal coordinator, and then myself. So that'll all be one.
Thank you.
So the Career Center is the joint New York State County.
Yeah, so basically, so there's 33 workforce boards throughout the state. Workforce boards are all over the country. Really, workforce boards are an act of Congress. It's federal legislation. So we're a standalone county, and in each workforce board area, you need to have at least one comprehensive American Job Center. So basically the Career Center. So that means that you need the New York State Department of Labor, and then we also have the Office of Employment Training. So those two put together make Tompkins Workforce New York. So really, the Office of Employment, it's really the Office of Employment and Training at Workforce New York, but a lot of times it's like the wording's loosely interchanged. So yeah, that's actually seen all across different workforce board areas, is that you need to have that co-located, the two together.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was always confusing.
Yeah, again, it's a lot.
Annie?
Hi, Chris. Sorry I missed part of your presentation, but and possibly you said this, but am I correct in a lot of the jobs that you're helping people get are either living wage or at least above minimum wage, and you talked about helping people get off benefits? Is that true?
Yeah, so that's like really what we're pushing for, is just really making people aware of different careers that are out there. And every workforce board has to create an in-demand jobs list. So if you went to our website, you would see that. And if like a certain job is on that list, then that qualifies for funding. So if someone comes to the Career Center and they're interested in a certain career, we the staff kind of talks with them about that, and they get intaked. And if they're approved, then we find an appropriate partner for them. So some of our big partners are TC3, TSD BOCES. So depending on the classes that they have, like the tuition can get covered for them to take that class. And then there's other things called supportive services, where if they need help with a gas card or other things like that, that funding is allowable to help them kind of get to that other point. So yeah, that's really the focus. And when we look at direct to work, pathways to manufacturing, that's really a program that we really support, because it's all about getting people like living wage jobs where they can kind of have a new career pathway. Because I know that there's like plenty of people that I know people have worked the same job for their whole entire life, and they're like the greatest workers ever, but their wage is never going to go up, and all they're trying to do is save for their family. They just maybe go on vacation here and there. They're not looking for the moon or for everything. So I think that's what we really try to do too, is just give someone else that another opportunity. They have a lot of transferable skills in their current job, but if we can help them be aware of other stuff, that's very important. And that's where the communications person plays into this all. They're the ones out there making people aware of what's going on. You can only hang up so many flyers at the library or somewhere else. And I think that's another aspect where I said it's the glue. Like you need someone else like really following up and having like a comfortable face for someone to feel comfortable to communicate, because I think it can be scary for people who may have, they may have been unemployed and they haven't had a job for a while, or they just don't like talking to strangers, or they may feel uncomfortable and stuff. So it's really important just to have someone that's like, hey, I'm with Tompkins County, and I can help you with workforce issues, and help connect you with the right resources and things like that. So I think that's another point that's severely missed right now. And
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chris. I know you're really passionate about this, and I appreciate you explaining this to us. I think it's important for us to keep in mind as we're looking at increased TANF and SNAP benefits that the county's paying out. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Randy, you had another question?
In looking at the revenue for Workforce Development Board, the federal aid is going way up. Is that correct, if I'm reading this right?
So I know with the restructure, we're still in the process of merging the budget into one. So right now it's kind of separate with there's a service provider side, which would be the Career Center, OET side, and then there's the board side. So it's really like, the federal revenue is like actually going nowhere in general. Currently, youth funding for workforce boards, workforce programs is actually like there's $0 in the current like House legislation that's going out there. And obviously this is being advocated for to be fixed, but really this program, this workforce board program, workforce programs really isn't something that's going to be getting money in the future, I don't think. Especially with the federal government trying to save money, and it's not really, historically, it's not a department where it's like, hey, let's throw way more money at this. It's more like going to be in the bucket of, okay, that's what it's at, and then, that's what it's going to stay at. So, yeah, we've been advised by NITEP, our workforce association that we work with, that like this is a challenge we're facing, and like, you need to be projecting and talking about how that's going to look for the future. Diane Eckley's our fiscal coordinator. We talk about it all the time, and that's something we keep in mind. And discussions we had with Norma about the budget of like how that actually looks. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
All right. Thank you so much.
We appreciate your enthusiasm for the job.
Thank you.
Okay, Norma, do we have Lauren now?
Yes, we have one more. So just, I didn't go over what's here. The probation officer, the youth services, human rights, they're all going to come separately with their own OTR. Those were reduced earlier on. Facilities, project manager, highway seasonal worker, and senior highway crew supervisors, those positions were cut, and they're not requesting those to be reinstated. So the only other positions that we need to bring to you now is the Information Technology Systems Administrator.
And the Budget Director?
And yes, I'm sure Lisa will talk about that. Yes. But I figured we are captive audience, so we could get through these and then let the folks from Cooperative Extension come in if that's the way you want to work that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I was just going to pull up the information for Lauren. Lauren, do you want to speak to oh, it's not showing. Do you want to speak to the position?
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone. I've got Kim Moore, my deputy, here with me. And I was going to just read to you what's on the screen, which I'm happy to do. But this position is one of our core positions. We typically have had 3 systems administrators to cover a gamut of applications, including financial, public safety, well, I got it right here in front of me. Let's see. Training applications and other shared services initiatives. So we have a vacant position because of Kim going into the deputy position. And we typically like 3 people in this position for cross-training. That way, if people are out, we have support for other applications, including Laserfish, which we are heavily involved with the shared services with other towns and villages and other municipalities. So again, I can read to you exactly what's on the screen, which pretty much summarizes the position, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Wow. Okay, no questions. Thank you, Lauren.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, so moving on. Cooperative Extension. I see Meg is here virtually. Hi, Meg.
Hello.
Okay, I guess, Norma, are you going to present her slides, or?
Oh, I'll share my screen, unless you want to, Norma. I think I'm good.
No, that's okay, Meg. Go ahead.
And CCE is on your book page 5-4.
Hey, are you guys set? Can you see me okay? The screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I just want to first say Things are a little bit different than when I was here last year. And I just can't thank everybody enough for their kindness, their care, their support, for all of us here, our whole cooperative extension office staff and the extended community. There's a lot of people that play various roles throughout the whole county. I also have, thanks to you, new finance manager on as well, Rob Brown. I think many of you know him. They've been here in the community for a long time. But
lovely to see y'all.
There's Rob, right behind me. I just wanted to take the opportunity to really formally thank you because, you know, last year Lisa was so kind. Everybody was so kind with the transition, and we've come such a long way. Thanks for your support. Thanks for Randy, Susan, Dan earlier, Annie, Norma, Samantha, and Lisa. And Dominic has played some roles with us too, with some of his communication skills. Let's see if I get my guy over here. So we have, and thank you for the band. The kids are just loving it, and they're so worried about spilling, but we don't care. We'll clean it up, but thanks for the OTR from last year. It's amazing. So all of your support, you were one of the primary, just gave us the comfort to succeed. I just want to share that we are through like all the knotholes we needed to get through, fully accredited, fully compliant, thanks to the first year of the OTR for the capacity building for finance. That gave us the kit we really needed. It was a game changer, and it helped us focus on all of the administrative capacity that needed to happen. So we do still need the ramp, the off ramp of this year, and then a little bit next year. As you know, timing for budgets and things take time. So all our audits are done thanks to this OTR, the first year. We have a shiny, perfect audit. Yes, Rob, just thumbs up for you. We did a external grants and contracts audit so that we dove very deeply into all of the internal capacity on effort certification and all of that kind of stuff and tracking. We're reestablished in all of our grants, contracts, federal funding streams, all of that. And the great thing that's next is, and Robert's really good at this, processes and structures to keep everything going, as well as now we're able to really have a solid indirect cost. And as you know, we bring in a lot of external grants and contracts. Some of them multi-year, so they were budgeted at a X amount, so it takes a little time. So we really do need the kind of continued support. IDC costs, indirect cost rates, these external grants are going to just start hopping up, which is great. And then in 2025, I think this organization will be pretty well set. Some of the things that we have we've brought joy, and so everyone now is doing fun with finance that Rob's leading and the rest of the staff. So, you know, I could speak to it. This is $50,000 for this year. I thank you so much for ongoing, and then, you know, just a little bit to keep it going next year. We have some extra staff we've brought on, and I think by then we'll have really been able to pull in the indirect costs to support the administration and operations that are required for success. So there's that one. Do anyone have questions on that?
Questions, comments for Meg? Okay, I guess you can go on to the next one.
Okay, well, the next one is also, year 3, and We are currently, because it's the last year, we're doing pretty well looking for funding for 2025. And new relationships that have formed over the first 2 years are solidifying. So the navigator position, we're starting to work with Northeast Pediatrics, in addition to Cayuga Health Partners, Cayuga Women's Health of Cayuga Medical Associates, to work with the patients who have screened for unmet needs and social needs at the doctor's visits, and then facilitating community connections. It's very exciting, and it's continuing well. And it's continuing to expand. So if there's any questions too on that, I can take them. I probably write them down to make sure I get the team that runs it to get an extra answers, more detailed answers. So, but it's a really exciting effort, and it's really helping a lot of people in the community. Any questions?
Okay,
anything?
Any questions for Meg? Doesn't look like it, Meg. We appreciate your enthusiasm. We appreciate the improvements that have occurred at CCE, and it's nice to see Rob in his new home.
Make one comment?
Sure, Annie.
Meg, this is Annie Corman. I just wanted to say thank you for the transparency and the communication, that you've helped create there, and and all of your staff. So please thank them for us.
Thank you. I certainly will. I can't be more proud of the board, the volunteers, and everyone. It's been a wild ride, but it's been, we're just so thrilled to be part of this county community and effort. So thank you.
Okay. Moving on. All right. We're halfway through our time, and we have Finance, TCAT, and the legislature. The county historian, I'm sorry, Mike?
Well, I just have a question about what's going to be happening. Norma just talked about the departments that aren't going to ask for the over targets. Are we not going to hear from those departments?
If there are no over target requests, no, we're not.
We're not going to have this legislature being able to see each of our departments like we normally do?
We discussed this earlier this year. We were going to run that through committees.
I didn't remember that, and I just want to express my, I guess I'm disappointed about that.
Your disappointment is noted.
Well, it doesn't give this legislature an exposure to each of the departments like we always have done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're halfway through. We still have 3 departments left. The county historian, unfortunately, has been afflicted with the plague.
Oh.
So she won't be here this evening. Does everyone want to take maybe a 5-minute break? Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up. So let's do that. 5 minutes, people.
Gaps in the schedule.
All right. We just got the thumbs up from the boss up in the control room. So before we move on, I just want to make a comment. We're struggling with the new process. I've heard some questions about how we seem to be a little less thematically organized in this meeting than we have been in our past processes. And we've had some trouble with the online book. Just everybody be patient. It's a new process. And next year, I'm sure it'll just work like a charm because we will work hard this year to make it work. So with that said, I think we're going to do finance. And Ms. Lori Scarrett, you're up.
Thank you very much.
And finance is on page 4-78 of your book.
So we have 3 requests. The first one being for an accountant position. This position is currently filled. It was requested as an OTR as a target for the 2023 budget, but it was approved as a multi-year OTR. We are currently in 2024, we'll be going into year 2 of the multi-year OTR, and Finance Department did request it to become a target moving forward. Currently, we have a limited number of staff that have the knowledge and experience to complete a key number of tasks for our department. We are looking to cross-train the staff as well as developing them to assist with responding to requests in addition to daily issues and ongoing accounting duties, as well as to help position us for succession planning. I do want to note that this position almost solely got us caught up with the sales tax distribution. If we didn't have this position, we would not have been able to make those targets that we made this past summer. We have several new GASME requirements coming down the pike, in addition to the leases that we are going through now from different funding sources and government regulations. And we are requesting that this position be, I would like it to be target, but anything would be good.
So clarify, please, I don't know if this is for you, Lori, or for Norma and Lisa. It's recommended in, oh no, the county, oh, all right. So it's recommended as a continuation of the OTR, but not as an addition to target.
Correct.
And hopefully next year we'll be in a better position. And
If there was money, I'm pretty sure I can speak for Lisa to say that we would have liked to have put that in as target.
Okay.
So it's not continuing as an OTR, it's continuing as one time.
Correct.
Right.
That's right. And just for clarity, in order to make the 2% budget, there were no over target requests that were approved. So this one unfortunately is no exception.
Well, next year's another year. And hopefully it will be a better one.
What was the modification on this? It's shown on our sheet as modified.
I think what they just said, that it was asked for to be target, but it was modified to only be one time.
And just if last year in the budget for 2023, the position was requested and it was approved as a multi-year funded position pending the new finance director.
Understand that.
Okay, so this year it was requested as a target and it was changed, the county administrator recommended as one time.
Thank you.
Deborah?
Yes. Rich and then Veronica.
Yeah, on the purchasing staff, on the screen it shows 22,000. Here it's in the neighborhood of 15,000 on paper. I was wondering if you could explain which is it?
All right, so I haven't gotten to that one, but we can go there now. So the second one is for the purchasing staff. It's two positions. During 2023 budget process, it was determined the need for a purchasing specialist to assist the purchasing manager. At that time, there was only enough funding was approved for part of the year. So now the position is filled, and we need to have the additional funding for the full year to have it aligned with the associated bargaining unit contract. The second position is for the purchasing manager position. That was reclassified to a grade higher than originally budgeted for due to the job description being reevaluated by Human Resources. So I believe on your, I don't have exactly what you're looking at, but there's 2 salary increases and 2 fringe
I
increases.
see it now. Okay. So they're for the 2 different positions.
Correct.
Sorry, that's what totals the 22,149?
And that was not recommended. Okay, Randy?
I realize you weren't here for some of this, Lori, but, so I'm looking at the full-time equivalents and going back to 2019, the last normal year. And you had 13 people, and then there was added, and then it stayed 13 through COVID, and then it increased by 3 last year. And now it's dropping to 15. Is that one drop the OTR? Is that what that means?
No, one position that we had became the HR payroll IT position that is now in the administrator's budget.
Okay.
That's the one that dropped off.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Veronica and then Randy, or Shauna, rather.
Thanks. This might be a dumb question, but can someone explain why making the accountant position one-time versus target affects staying under the 2% tax levy increase or not? Is it like, does the money come from a different place if it's one-time versus target?
Yes, it comes from the fund balance.
Sorry, could you say that?
Yeah, it comes from the fund balance.
Wait, in which case?
One time.
Which is, so we don't raise taxes to cover that. We're taking it out of our savings account, basically, to pay for that position. So it's.
When it is one time?
When it is one time.
And if it were in target, we would have to be in.
Raising the levy.
Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's not a dumb question. It's an important concept to understand.
Okay. Also, I feel like I'm at a disadvantage for getting called on with those flowers, though they are beautiful.
You're welcome. They're Shauna's flowers, they're not mine. Okay, Shauna.
Dan got them for me. So I was wondering, I know we did the salary study, and we're going to be, I'm assuming, increasing some of our employee salaries. Is that going to be in an OTR? Is that already done? At what point are we going to see that? Or is this recommendation coming from the salary study where some of our employees were not making market rate?
Those adjustments are, well, right now being discussed because they're tied to union negotiations.
Right, I understand that.
So they're not going to come as an OTR. It's money that's been set aside to address any negotiated salaries.
Okay, gotcha. I just wanted to try and understand where we were going to fit that in on the budget. So,
yes,
thank you.
Because those would add to target.
Those do add to target,
Right.
yes.
Okay. All right. I think you've got another one, Lori?
I do. The third one is for a request for anticipated additional auditing services. As we learned last night, this year we went through the GASB for the leases. I'm anticipating a rather large bill for that coming forth, and I will be asking for contingency for that money for this year. So next year we have 3 more GASBs coming, as we talked about last night. So in anticipation of that, I'm requesting some additional funding so that we can get through that next year.
Okay. That makes sense. Any questions on that one? Veronica, I can see you now.
Yay. I kind of know this now, but for the public, what's GASB?
Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And they're an oversight regulation. They kind of make the rules for how we have to do our presentation of our financial statements.
Okay, Rich.
How did you arrive at the $50,000 figure? Is that just, did you get something from Insero, or are you just sort of ballparking it?
Kind of ballparked it a little bit. The estimate for the leases that they've just completed, I haven't gotten the final bill yet, but the estimate is between $30,000 and $40,000 for that one. I do think that one was probably more labor-intensive than these other three, but that's how I estimated it.
Well, I'm wondering if, having gone through the process, next year, they would just update for one more year of leases and add any new ones and subtract out ones that completed. Does it seem like it's going to be the same effort year to year, or?
So my intention is that now that we've got the leases implemented, we'll take over that with our new accounting position, take over monitoring the leases. These new pronouncements are for the software that he talked about last night. There's an omnibus, and the other one was private pay, public-private partnership pay arrangements. So those three we have to look at, analyze, and implement if need be. If it's, less than that, obviously we wouldn't use it, but I just was trying to avoid
Sure.
asking for contingency money.
Yep, thank you.
So the new ones won't build on the lease evaluations that they had to do this year. Okay, I've got Greg and then Dan.
I'm good, thank you.
Dan?
So I just want to follow up on that last piece of conversation. Did I understand you correctly to say the GASB that was just done is not an ongoing cost? It was a one-time cost? What about the next ones? Are they one-time or ongoing?
So I anticipate, with the proper staffing and support, that once we get them implemented, a system and process in place, that we will be able to maintain those year to year. So just like with the leases, we needed help going through all those leases, getting all that set up. Next year, we'll probably need a little bit of help just completing it and getting us over the hurdle, but then our staff will take that over. So these new ones, the ones for the 3 new pronouncements, we need assistance getting that up and running.
Why is that a target request and not a one-time request?
Question. Oh, that's true, right.
Yeah.
You're right. So these particular ones will be over, and we'll have new ones coming down the pike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Okay, Lee.
Dan just asked my question. I'm all set. Thanks.
Okay, great. Nice to see you. Anything else for Lori? Okay, good. Thank you, Lori. You were very crisp.
Thank you, and thanks, Daryl and Drew, for being my backup team.
Okay, great. Okay. I see Julie Ellis Grove is here from TCAT. So we're going to do TCAT, and then I will turn the rest of it over to Lisa and Norma for the administration portion.
The legislature.
Oh, and the legislature. Katrina's going to do it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Can I just ask while they're getting ready, is the rest of the list that was sent out correct for what departments we're going to do? Because tonight was a little different than got sent out.
As far as I know, I mean, Katrina put this together with input from.
That was from county admin, I believe so.
The only change this evening was the county historian.
I had 2 blanks, and I didn't have workforce or IT on there.
Oh, because they were part of county administration.
Workforce and IT are considered part of admin.
They were part of the soft hiring
Hiring
freeze.
freeze.
And that was an admin's piece.
Admin's putting them back in, okay.
If you look in the OTR.
Okay, TCAT is on page 5-33 of your book, and it looks like Julie's ready to go. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Ellis Grove, and I am the controller for TCAT. Scott Vanderpool, our general manager, is currently out of town, so I'm going to be covering our presentation this evening. So before I get into the heart of tonight's presentation, I would like to first touch on our status, priorities, and hopes for the future. Along with our community partners, TCAT is continuing to work on a NYSERDA Clean Transportation Grant, which will provide on-demand services initially in underserved areas to get people from point A to B more efficiently with electric-powered vans. The aim of this project is to foster equity by extending green transportation options to populations who currently have little access to electric vehicles or other new technology. TCAT is continuing to work towards electrifying our entire fleet by 2035. By the end of 2024 or early 2025, TCAT is expected to have acquired 20 electric buses, which will be the highest percentage of electric vehicles of any bus fleet in New York State. But while we aspire towards these initiatives, we do have an immediate need to address multiple day-to-day challenges that are now impacting our service levels. At present, I want to reassure all riders and all stakeholders that we are engaged with our local funders, including the city, county, and Cornell, to balance our available human resources while providing the best service possible for our riders. As many of you are aware, TCAT has been contending with driver shortages for several years, a problem that has come even more glaring in the wake of the pandemic. While we know there is more latent demand out there, ridership is currently at about 60% of where we were in pre-pandemic 2019. We are now offering 70% of the service that we did in 2019, but with 20 to 25 fewer drivers. We have learned from past that we cannot continue to provide service levels that overwork our drivers, which in turn hurts retention rates. So to offset a downward spiral of driver shortages, we are working on multiple solutions to not only attract new drivers, but to keep the ones we already have. Some of the things we're doing now include hiring both a full-time recruiter and additional bus operating trainer to bring in more bus operator recruits and get them through our lengthy and stringent training processes. We're developing daily work schedules to provide better work-life balance for our drivers, many of whom must work split shifts or have mandated work to overtime to meet all these service demands. We're creating informational materials, including posters and pamphlets that are being distributed here and throughout the region. We're attending job fairs organized by community businesses and organizations throughout the region, along with hosting our own mini job fairs at our main transit hub on Green Street. We're adding referral bonuses and considering other type of bonuses to bolster staffing levels. Additionally, we're tracking bus shortages, which are also cutting into our service right now. We are doing this with a laser-like assessment of maintenance protocols to find better ways of getting buses maintained, repaired, and on the road faster. Despite these challenges, our goal is to return to service levels of 2019 by the fall of 2024. At the same time, we will remain steadfast in our efforts to promote equitable and environmentally sustainable transportation. We know these are essential to our community's economy and overall well-being. What gives us confidence and what we hope reassures all of you is that, as I've mentioned, we are working with our underwriters and our board members who combined have a wealth of expertise and unflinching determination to help strengthen TCAT now and well into the future. So now I'm going to get into kind of the crux of tonight's presentation. As you can see, TCAT has two over-target requests for the 2024 budget. The first OTR relates to TCAT's capital improvements. TCAT's 2024 draft capital budget includes two projects. The first capital project is to replace 3 of TCAT's transit vehicles for a cost of $105,000. These transit vehicles are used daily by our bus drivers to travel to buses out en route during shift changes. TCAT plans to pay for this project with our 5307 funding, which requires, which requires state and local funding matches. The second capital project relates to TCAT's 2022 LONO grant for $8.7 million. The LONO grant will be used to fund 6 new electric buses, 4 small electric vans, workforce development, and overhead pantograph charging stations to help quickly charge all of our electric vehicles. TCAT will be using some of our New York State ATC, which is called the Accelerated Transit Capital, and MEP, which is our Modernization and Enhancement Program funding, to help offset some of the local match for our capital projects. So based on our funding, this would result in an OTR to the county of $48,598 for our capital improvement. TCAT's second OTR request pertains to our operating budget. TCAT is seeking a 4% increase over last year from our underwriters, resulting in a $39,873 increase. In 2023, our underwriters are paying a total of $2,983,723 of our budget. We are asking for them to bring their contribution up to $3,103,072 for 2024. This is an ask of $1,034,357 per underwriter for 2024. The request for the increase is due to many factors, including increased expenses due to inflation, salary and benefit increases, increases in parts and fuel expenses, as well as increases in bus insurance. TCAT's 2024 total draft budget and expenditures is $20,330,160. So this is an increase from our 2023 budget of around 5.6%. TCAT would just like to thank the county for their continued commitment to support us as we continue to recover from the pandemic. And I'm happy to answer any questions that I can at this time.
Rich.
Thank you. These numbers that you're showing on the screen, are you asking for similar amounts from the city and Cornell? Yeah. So this would be our share?
All three underwriters, yes. This is the same ask from all three underwriters, correct.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Veronica?
Thank you. I guess related to that is if one or two of the underwriters were to approve the ask and the others not, how does that work? Or what would happen?
So all three underwriters have to agree to the same percentage or the same ask. So if one of the other underwriters doesn't agree to this or the county doesn't agree to this, then basically we kind of go back to the drawing board to see if there can be a negotiation to a lower percent or something like that. Or if we can't get all three underwriters to agree for any increase, then TCAT does not get the increase. It has to be an all or nothing.
Okay, Randy.
Yes, I'm looking at the 23 budget, and it was $1,150,000. And the recommended budget for this year is $908,000 with that approved OTR. Does that mean that the county's expenses are $250,000 less than it was proposed for this year?
There's a reduction in our capital contribution, which is usually well over $100,000, but I don't know about the rest of it.
I have it pulled up, I apologize.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, Julie.
Great, thank you all so much.
Okay, I'm going to let Katrina do her 30-second presentation. And then the rest of our meeting will be turned over to administration. You'll find the legislature piece on page 4-111 of your book. Sorry. Okay. Surprise.
It just depends on who's thinking about it first.
Okay, I have, it shows up as 2 OTRs, but it's basically one. And it's an OTR to upgrade the software in the office that we use for meeting management. And we have had Minute Track since 2010 in the office. and we're looking to upgrade to Legistar, and it would be through the same company, Granicus. And it's a $31,000 cost to purchase the software which is a one-time cost, and then an increase to our target of $8,857 for the continued maintenance for that software. This is something that Michelle and Kathy first started, I'm going to say 2018, 2019 timeframe. And then COVID hit and things just got pushed back, but we're actually in a position now where I think we could roll out the new software. We're having a lot of trouble with Minute Track, and we've got just little glitches. It's taken a lot of time in the background for staff to produce everything and so that it looks right and the end product. And I'm asking for that over target request.
Was this recommended or not?
It was not.
Okay. Questions? Annie?
Thank you. Now, for chairs and vice chairs of, say, committees, with the new software, would we be able to see what departments are putting in?
We can start doing that. That's something that's part of the new program, that we could train you to go in and see what's going in before the agendas go out, similar to how you review the agenda with the clerks now, and that's something you could probably do on your own.
So we could see some of that ourselves. That'd be great. And then the other thing I was going to ask about that, as far as the software, I know I've heard from, it's not a technical question, so don't worry, but I just know, actually, it's not a question, it's a comment, that I know several departments have told me that the Minute Track, besides here at the clerk's office, have told me it's very glitchy and it's very hard, and it's been getting harder the last few years to use Minute Track to get their stuff put in there for the agendas.
Our major concern is that they're going to sunset the software, and we'd rather be ahead of the game than get the notice that you need to make the change now. We'd rather like to make it on our own terms. So that's our request. There is also another OTR, and that was submitted I submitted it as a result of the Government Operations Committee request, and it's an additional target request for $8,500 for travel and training. And Amanda has the trophy from Government Operations. Mr. Mezzi?
What's in other, under 1010 legislature? In the regular budget? Historically, it's been like 1149, 3607, and then it looks like the modified budget was 11,000, and then the target's 11,000 this year.
Can you clarify, Norman, because we don't have,
I think he's on the.
I'm on the budget.
Budget page, not the OTR.
Okay.
In the lower part where it says
I'm guessing 1010 is the legislator.
Sorry, but is 1010 an account number or, okay.
That's what it says here.
Functional unit,
It says travel training in our book for 1010. 1010.
No, there's a salary and wages, premium pay, fringe, other capital, and then other.
Is that trophies?
He's looking at the main budget page, not the OTR page. You're looking at the OTR.
trophies, culverts, flow charts, candy.
Oh, I see.
Candy, not culverts.
Okay. With
Right,
you.
so I think 1010
Dioramas.
is
Dioramas,
the
yes.
legislature, and then 1040 is the clerk.
Yes.
So I think he's looking under the,
1010 other.
right, there's a line that says other. So what is other?
What is other?
Combination of
Is
things.
that mileage?
No, there's a line for local mileage.
Where's that?
Is it in travel training?
No,
There's a separate line. And
Does it
there's,
roll
the
up, Norma?
title is,
It rolls up, yeah.
The other?
This is part of the problem with not having a line item budget. One second, I'm going to tell you exactly what's in there.
All right. And so I'll just get to the point that I'm asking. It looks that historically that account has been significantly underutilized and we're continuing to budget the same amount while asking for an $8,500 OTR that could be covered by the difference that has not historically been spent in the last 2 years in that line item.
I just want to remind you that the last 2 years, we didn't use the local mileage
It was local mileage, yes.
as much because of COVID and the remote meetings.
Yeah.
So for the last few years, that wasn't utilized as much as it had been in the past.
Shouldn't be there at all.
Correct.
Shauna?
Yeah, so I just want to remind my colleagues as we are discussing the training, travel and training, that I was just elected to the NISAC board. And there will be, I believe, 3 or 4 meetings that I have been asked to attend. And out of the 4, I believe one of them is the fall conference for NISAC, one of them is a retreat in June, and then one of them is the September meeting. So that will be extra expenses, and I just want to be very transparent about that.
I'm all for it. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. My comment is not anti the 8,500 in travel and training, and I appreciate you saying that. I'm all for it. It's just rather than putting an OTR, let's see if there's other money in the budget that we can move around.
We still need an OTR, but we could remove something
amendment.
so the net, excellent.
Madam Chair.
All right. Okay, I've got Randy and then Annie.
Yes, I'm going to ask you about the software a little bit. That OTR is for the software, 40,639, is that what that one is? So the 24,000, that line now, is that for currently what you're paying for a minute track?
Yes.
So that's going to be over and above that number to buy the
It
software?
it'll be 31,000 to purchase the software, an additional 8,000 each year for the maintenance and.
And the minute track currently is causing you extra work?
Yes.
Okay. Do they, is it the same company, just different?
It's the same company, it's just an enhanced software. The public side of it is a lot nicer. It's easier to use. It's ADA compliant. There's like just a list of
I just want to understand really it sounds like there's a lot of good benefits to it.
Yes, there's many benefits to it.
Thank you.
And we definitely want to be replacing software before they pull servicing, because I know just from the experience we had at TCAT, they had bought some sort of tracking software that tracked their supplies and parts and the purchase orders and the billings, and it was no longer supported by the company that put it together, and it was constantly causing problems. It was a disaster, and it took them a while to get around to replacing it. We don't want to be in that situation. Amanda.
Yeah, I just wanted to, Shauna didn't really elaborate, but I think that she and Katrina are going to maybe look at some numbers. Like, it could be significantly like $5,000 more.
Actually, that was the number, I just texted Shauna. That was the number we came up with. There was an estimate of about $5,000 for those NISAC.
So this is the Shauna boondoggle, is that what you're telling me?
That's right. I mean, we don't have to add that.
Not at the casino this time, so.
But this will be
So we don't have to send Annie.
This will be what we have to talk about is, if we don't add that money, then the rest of us are going to be jockeying for who gets to go to conferences. So we'll get to that conversation when we talk about it, but, just putting that out there to be very clear.
So you're saying there might be an additional 5,000 over and above the 8,500?
When Gio talked about it, this is what we came up with, and that was before Shauna had become part of the board. So that would be additional, yeah.
Okay.
That $5,000 estimate, that's very rough because we just got the board schedule today and that's what we threw together. So.
Annie?
I was attending virtually an environmental conference today, and I've heard this before, but from our state reps, they said that it's very important that we have good relationships with them and that we advocate and we push for things that they're trying to do and that we're letting them know what we're doing and what our issues are. So I fully support anything that we can do to have good relationships and push for things we need at the state and federal level.
Okay, anybody else? All right then. Thank you, Katrina. That was very crisp. And now I'm going to turn it over to our admin team for the rest of the evening.
Okay.
Norma, do you want to pull up the, okay,
That?
perfect. We'll start with the Community Justice Center because we have Mona with us and.
Got it there.
Is that where, okay?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
So we have a number of over-target requests that, this is the third and final year of the Reimagining Public Safety Initiative, and a number of the over-target requests for the CJC were formed to fulfill those projects in the third and final year in 2024. And a reminder that most, I believe all of these projects are funded 50% by the city and 50% by the county. So Mona Smiley, our CJC project director, is here. She has reported on this with our counterparts at the city and the Common Council, and they are 50% partners in the costs for these. So the first is the continuation of the community healing plan, and this builds on the train the trainer work that was completed last year, where facilitators were trained and now they are within our community, and they will hold several sessions with community members and law enforcement to continue the healing process. So that's the first. We're anticipating 5,100 for that. These are all one-time costs. The second is the additional support for the staffing for the Community Justice Center, and that includes the director and data analyst. There was originally budgeted a half-time administrative assistant, and that position was not filled to cut costs. So this is these are costs for the for those two positions, as well as excuse me, $5,000 in program expense to support the operation. And then, sorry, I'm toggling between a few different documents. The next request here under the CJC is $15,000, and that is to support the evaluation of the newly implemented care teams, to implement the effectiveness of the co-response model and to see how it meets the objectives of reimagining public safety. Again, that's the co-response model, the partnership between Whole Health and the Sheriff's Department. The funding also includes the continuance of the Community Resource Hubs pilot program for the second year. Currently, there are 2 hubs that were formed in the towns of Enfield and Groton. Mona is going out weekly and holding office hours in those spaces to work with community members and connect them and engage them with services. And And so that continues those efforts. Let's see. On to the next page. This is the final page here. And the next is the, I'm sorry, second. The Officer Wellness Initiative, we're requesting $20,200 for, to continue to implement the Officer Wellness program together with the city. This will support recruitment and retention of an on-call counselor to enhance the existing employee assistance efforts, and contracting with a nutritionist or dietitian. And also it will support the implementation of a peer support model, critical incident stress management team, which would be available to law enforcement and first responders or to debrief after a critical incident. And these were findings that came out of the survey of law enforcement around what was requested for officer wellness. The last two are to implement a recruitment strategy and training program to continue the projects that are currently underway for those two initiatives. And again, Mona is available as well as others to answer questions directly related to these initiatives.
Questions? Randy?
Yes, thank you. Is this the third year of an OTR? Is that correct?
Yes.
So that's why it's coming out of our general fund versus out of our levy? Okay.
Yes, these were all considered pilot programs, and next year will be the year to determine whether, you know, these were all done kind of as a trial to see what was effective, what's working, what we want to keep doing, and what we probably want to let go of. So they're all one time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to the next thing. Lisa, please.
Right. Norma, you're driving the PowerPoint, so I'll go wherever you want to drive.
I'll go back up to the beginning. I just wanted to point out, though, Lisa, in the budget book, I just noticed that last OTR that we were looking at for CJC, this is a new software. There's a sum function that does not calculate correctly, so it looks as if the very last one of those OTRs was 60,000, and in fact, that was summing the revenue and the expense. So I've corrected it on the online book. You won't even know the difference, but in the printed book, there will be a change to that. So it's actually not a $60,000 expense. It's a $15,000 expense. 15, yeah, it's half.
What page of the book is that on?
I'll send you an email.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Norma.
Sure. Go back up to the, all right. So
okay, starting back from the beginning. So county administration did not escape unscathed from the administrator-driven reductions, the position reductions to meet the 2% target. At the time we were looking for unfilled positions, the budget director position was unfilled. And so that is here as an over target request. I would consider this a critical position for our department and for the county. It not only involves budget preparation, but budget management, which is a year-long responsibility. The budget is as large and as complex as it's ever been, with an operating budget, as you know, 245 million and a capital budget of 141 million. It does take someone's full-time eyes on it year-round. And then the budget preparation of meeting with departments and agencies, and it is a very intense process. I can speak for myself and for Norma. These have been starting, it starts back in the spring, but in midsummer, we're talking 60-hour weeks, 60-plus hour weeks from July until now. So it's not a sustainable thing to continue. It's too much to be absorbed under the deputy or county administrator role. And I think we are right now well positioned to bring someone in to be trained under Norma for that knowledge transfer, succession planning, and organizational capacity, because it's a larger and more complex budget than it has been. So that's my pitch. I don't know if there are any questions on that, but we can just jump to the next ones. The other over target requests that are included, these were continuations of one-time requests that had been multi-year. The first is the homeless outreach coordinator position. That was a position added as an amendment by the legislature last year, $100,000, a 2-year over target request. That position is in county administration, and we're recommending funding for the second year to continue with those initiatives. Efforts are underway now with looking at the outreach team, convening meetings with the city of Ithaca to discuss the encampments. There are issues happening right now in terms of shelter capacity. So this is a role that we do anticipate needing and looking toward for the coming year. The second is another continuation of our software to translate the website, the county's website, into multiple languages. We have pared down this request from what it was last year. This is just to continue the maintenance of the software. I hope that that's clear in the budget book as well. In one version I was looking at, the narrative looked different, but that this would continue on with those initiatives. The third is, this was a position that is recommended to, it was not recommended for target funding. It was requested as target funding and probably should be considered for target funding, but I'm recommending it as one time. This will be the third year of a multi-year OTR for the media streaming operations in the legislature chambers and media production for the organization. When previously this role was a contracted role, and when Cooperative Extension could no longer do that and the former person retired, we brought this into the budget as a 3-year one-time, and it's one of those positions that it is an ongoing county county need. This request not only includes the salary and fringe costs, but the ongoing software costs associated with it. The next one here is the continuation of the Go Delivery software, the email newsletter that is centralized through county administration but used by multiple departments. It's one of many ways that the county reaches out to constituents about from anything from assessment to elections to Office for Human Rights to road closures, et cetera. So this is proven to be an effective way to reach out to constituents and notify them of county services, programs, changes, et cetera. Again, these are all one-time funding recommended. Informational mailings, this was pared down from previous year's requests, but if there is something where an outreach to people's homes with an informational mailer is called for this year. We did one to targeted households with the changes in the FEMA flood maps, for instance. This is an effective way to reach constituents. We had in the past requested for more than one potential mailing in a given year. This year we're requesting in the event that we need one. We were hoping, we're gearing up to do a mailer to all households talking about an overview of county services and how to access them. There are certain households that this would be the most effective way to reach them versus media. So again, it's a way of trying in various platforms to get the word out about county services. The final request is for a new website tool and content management structure. This is a multi-year, or it would be multifaceted, and this was similar to the Granicus software replacement for the legislature. It is, a lot of it is one-time cost for a change over to a new website for the county, and then ongoing software subscription costs would be an additional ongoing expense of $10,000 or a little more. So this was not recommended just because it would be an increase in ongoing costs, but this is something that has been discussed with GEO and across departments, that the current website tool is, the technology is outdated and it's not meeting the needs of many departments looking to promote their services with the public. It's not mobile friendly. And there are certain issues with it. And so this would be a changeover to a new a website that would be centrally, the content would be managed through county administration in conjunction with departments. So that was not included in the recommendations because of the additional ongoing costs. But happy to answer questions, and Dominic is on hand, and Norma and Bridget about any of these OTRs.
Mike?
Lisa, the one you were just speaking of, number 4, on the big sheets here, it shows that it has been approved by you. Not colored or anything like the other ones. But you're saying that is not approved?
Not recommend.
Not recommended?
Not recommended. because of the ongoing, because part of it is a target increase.
Can I ask a clarifying question on that one right there?
Sure. Go ahead.
What would be the ongoing cost?
For the first year it looks like a 10,000, the second year, 10,700.
In the third year, 11,000, almost 500.
So 10 or 11 each year after that?
Yep.
So I guess I'm confused. You just did a long list of OTRs. The homeless outreach coordinator, the language access implementation, those were recommended as continuations of multi-year OTRs.
Yes.
The media streaming, was that a multi-year?
Yes.
Okay. The Gov delivery software, was that a multi-year?
Yes.
Informational mailings, is that a multi-year?
It's reduced from what it was last year.
Right. So the only one that isn't an existing multi-year that would be a new expense basically is this new website tool.
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
I guess I'm still not understanding that. Are you recommending we spend $61,500?
No.
No.
No, it must be an error on the spreadsheet, Mike. We'll correct it.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Thank you.
Yeah?
Okay. Is there more?
That's it.
Oh, my goodness. Any more questions? Veronica?
This isn't a question for Lisa. I have like a general question about the process before we adjourn, if we're already there.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, we are there. Okay. Can someone clarify? Actually, no. First, I'm thinking about like Greg's question about what that other line is and where we can find unused money in the budget. Does a line item budget exist anywhere? Or like, is there anywhere that we can see more specific, like not broken down by functional unit and account, but broken down by like, when we say program expenses, it means this program, or when we say capital, it means like this truck or whatever. Does that make sense? Like I'm wondering if we were going to do something like see if there's unused money in the budget, like on a practical level, how do we legislators do that?
From the roll-up, you can kind of see what hasn't been spent, but, right?
Sorry, the roll-up, what's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, from the line item budget, or the budget that you have presently should show, just like when Greg asked, well, wait a minute, we haven't been spending that money. It will show you generally where those expenditures haven't been made. And I said to Randy earlier, I didn't mention this in the training before, but the online budget is also updating every night. So the actuals are updating on a regular basis, so you'll see kind of what's happening all the time. So it'll give you that. I guess the detail would be something that we'd have to create another report for. So at the end of the budget process, there is a line item budget created.
Okay. Well, I don't want to ask anyone to do work, more work. Is there a line item budget for 2023 that was created?
Yes, it's on the website as well.
Okay, thanks. I'll look at that then.
All right, anything else? Well,
sorry, I had another one. Can you remind us what's the process for submitting amendments if we want to?
you send an email to Norma and Lisa.
Great, thanks.
Sorry?
Deadline for when you want them submitted by?
Right before the voting meetings.
Yeah, before the
voting meetings.
At them during the voting meetings, so.
All right, well, thank you all, and we'll see you next week.